Okay, thanks for that. So, micro hiccup there when we started. So, it's now 13:34. So, start the meeting. So, good afternoon. Welcome to this meeting of the East Kent Services Committee. There's no fire alarm planned for this afternoon. Should the alarm sound, please leave the nearest available emergency exit. Two of the closest exits are through the glass doors behind you and to my left, and through the double doors and onto the riverbank behind you. So, and then please meet at the Tower House car park. Members of the public are welcome to make their own recordings of the meeting using whatever methods, non-disruptive methods they choose. I would like to remind everyone present at the meeting is being filmed and made available to view in live and archive form via the council's website. If you're seated in the public gallery, don't think we got anybody, but I'll just read it anyway, formality. If you're reading seated public gallery, it is possible that the cameras may capture your image. If you wish to avoid being filmed, it is recommended that you make a member of the staff aware, and they can direct you to sit somewhere that's not recorded. So, apologies, Andrew, item 1.
We have apologies from Councillor Biggs and Councillor Whitehead.
Okay, that's all noted then, but we've got everybody, we've got a representative from all our 3 councils.
We do, yeah, we're good.
Okay, any substitutes there?
Yes, we have Councillor Nee here for Councillor Biggs from Dover District.
Excellent, thank you. Welcome, Mike. And okay, so the first thing we need to do is consider the minutes of the previous meeting. It's item 3 on our agenda. Is there any options or comments? But if not, we can just approve those minutes by general assent. So, happy with that? That's excellent. I think so too. That's good. Does anyone want to make any declarations of interest at the start of this meeting? Okay, we're good for that as well. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so there's just one item on our agenda today, important item as it is. So that is to approve the approval of the Partnership 1 business plan for 26-27. You remember not too long ago we approved sort of, if you like, call it a startup business plan for the new business, and this is the first plan, if you like, that will be the ongoing business plan where things are built from in the years to come. So we will need to do this again, but it'll be about this time of the year again next year. Is that about right? Yep. So that will be repeating for forever and a day. So I'm not going to particularly take any point here. I don't think there's anything I can add to that, but I think we've all had a chance to look at the business plan as part of this agenda. So I really would like to ask Mark to take us through that business plan from his position as leading Partnership 1. We got chances to ask questions, if that's all right, afterwards. We just go through, make sure we're absolutely happy and clear with what's going on. Okay, Mark, over to you. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you very much. Hopefully, you've had a chance to look through some of the documentation. So we've in the pack. There's the business plan for year 2, the strategic plan, which is based on, and then there's a background briefing document. So I was asked to do a brief presentation just to talk through some of the changes and the main issues. So effectively, we have the strategic plan, which is a previously agreed 3-year strategic plan that sets the vision for the company. And that strategic plan lists the 6 key enabling goals that we need to work through across the 3 years to achieve the vision, which are effectively around establishing our identity, delivering our core services, developing our people to be recognised for the service and the way that we work, to seek appropriate trading opportunity and to add tangible social value to our communities. So they're the 6 goals that we effectively live by, and then within the business plan it details the activity against each of those goals. As Chair mentioned, so the very first year 1 business plan, which has only recently been approved, was effectively around, the priorities were around delivering core services, making sure that we were financially prudent and adapting to our financial envelope, but critically, in terms of year one of the business, was around developing trust with our stakeholders internally and externally. In terms of year two, if I were to summarise it, the main changes, if you like, are there's still the focus on core service delivery. Now that we've identified our financial envelope, we've been through the first full year of trading, it's about keeping within it and making sure that we can return any surplus to the councils. But the area of change is the shift from in year one, where it was around developing trust with our stakeholders. Year two is around building on that existing trust, but shifting towards seeking the recognition for what the company does and the way that it does it with its people. Obviously, there's still the background ongoing situation with developing our people and adding social value, and I can talk through all those in a little bit more detail in a moment. But I will flag a shorter term deprioritisation of our trading opportunities, and I'll explain that as well. So obviously, setting up a LATCO, one of the primary reasons is the opportunity to trade, and I'll explain why that's still continuing, but there's a small change which is effectively caused by LGR and the way that impacts the other councils that we might trade with. Okay, so across those 6 goals that I mentioned earlier, I've got 2 slides that sort of highlight the main changes within those goals. So across goal 1, which is establishing our new identity, that was primarily a year 1 goal. So activity in year 2 is decreased slightly from year 1, but it shifts to maintaining that trust that we develop with our stakeholders and maintaining the high levels of employee engagement that we're witnessing. Goal 2, which is around delivering excellent core services, that will be a common theme throughout every year of our plan, because clearly we need to deliver the services that you're paying the company for. So there's no change in focus, but equally we're introducing or ensuring that we build on our continuous improvement loops, keeping within the financial envelope and clearly having a regard of LGR and local government reform, because that will have a significant impact on us moving forwards. Against goal 3 around developing our people, there's a slight increase in focus. Now that we've set effectively the firmer foundations of the company moving forwards, it's around maintaining our reward and recognition approach and really embedding our strategic people planning process. We do have one, but it needs further development and embedding, and equally picking up the development opportunities and needs of our staff that flow from that process. So that's covered within that goal. Goal number 4 is the one which is the area of main change this year. So there was no focused activity on this goal last year because it was around building trust. Now that I think that we've moved a significant way through that particular goal, goal 4 kicks in, which is around being recognised. And it's around, for me, seeking appropriate company accreditation so that you guys can be proud because it's your company. So it's things like already a menopause-friendly employer, a disability-confident employer. It's around looking at things like great place to work and things like that from a company perspective. But then there's equally industry awards that we could be looking to go to sort of build that external validation for what the company does and what the company achieves. Because marking your own homework is not always appropriate, but that external validation is good. Equally within that goal, there's our presence as the leadership team on local and national steering groups that we're part of, and making sure that we can help influence the merging positions within the different industries that we operate, and sharing best practice with local peer organisations. Goal 5, which is around the trading opportunities, that's the area of main reduced focus this year, and I have a slide at the end about what we've done this year. Ultimately, for me, at the point that the strategic plan was agreed and the year 1 business plan was drafted, LGR was very much in its infancy, and what we're witnessing is as councils manoeuvre towards local government reform, opportunities for trading are diminished as we originally envisaged them. Coupled with that is the reduction in KCC funding, which means that there's more of a desire for us to return a surplus to you guys to help plug that gap. which means that we're utilising our vacant post savings or vacant posts to help return a surplus to the councils. That capacity is therefore not available to trade. So it's part of that wider piece. We will still trade appropriately. It means that we're looking at slightly different markets. And goal 6 is around adding tangible social value. That's still really important to us. So we still operate our Donate a Day process where every member of staff has 3 charity days a year to use in a local community. But equally in year 2, we're looking more towards some outreach activities as well in the direct communities. So that's how I would summarise the changes against the actual goals themselves. Why the change? So just for everyone's confidence, the changes aren't a knee-jerk reaction. The plan itself is still around achieving the 3-year strategic vision, which is still valid and still achievable. It just means that on an annual basis, this plan enables us to flex. And in this particular instance, we're reacting to the emerging challenges and opportunities that LGR presents. Mentioning there that it's significantly disrupted the market, but equally it does give us opportunities. It gives us opportunities to consolidate our position and make sure that we're best placed or well placed to be at that table when you guys are discussing future delivery vehicles around what a future authority might look like and how it might want to deliver its services. It's around making sure that we're there at the table as a potential service vehicle for you. I used this slide at Dover's scrutiny recently, and I thought it'd just be a useful slide just to put up. Governance of a LATCO is really important to give you guys confidence that actually everything is operating as it should. And so that was just an element of the different areas of governance that we have. So it covers the board. The 151s have an active involvement in the financial or the operational strategic as well as the financial side. We have EKSC, we have cabinets. Canterbury has a companies advisory committee, the scrutiny process as well. Then equally, East Kent Audit Partnership audits all of our services as though we were an internal service, and we're currently at 10 substantial and 1 reasonable, which is business rates credits from memory, and that's due for review next year. So I think that in terms of the governance side, you guys can be confident that it's appropriate and appropriately led, managed and scrutinised. As governance, quick slide on finance oversight. So roughly we have a £10 million surplus, 10 million turnover. There's no expectation from the councils that we would deliver a surplus, but I mentioned before about the KCC pressures. Obviously, that's very high in my mind. Year 1 for us was around really consolidating and understanding our financial position, and actually the costs inherited from the councils were about 300,000 more than we were originally anticipating. But despite that, we're actually hoping to return a surplus this current year of just over £250,000, which should provide some benefit to the councils. And next year, we're predicting within the business plan, there's a draft budget, a surplus of around 100,000, but that doesn't take into account a further 400,000 of risk-based contingencies. So if those risks don't materialise, then that surplus would be available to the councils as well. And equally, just to mention there, so there was a change in the board membership with the director from Dover stood down to become 151 because that would create a conflict of interest. So the board is light on financial experience. We're in the process of appointing a non-exec director with financial experience to the board to advise the board and give additional assurance, notwithstanding the fact that the 3 151s do provide significant amounts of challenge. And then I think finally, the last slide, obviously we're talking about year 2 business plan. This is my self-assessment of where we are on our year 1 business plan against each of those goals. So overall we're at 91% completion. But you can see there that the one that we're lacking on, or we're lagging on, is goal 5, which is the trading, and that's for the reasons I've mentioned before, which is why we've changed the priority of that in year 2, because that's reflecting the ongoing challenges that LGR has and will continue to have for the foreseeable future. But finally, happy to take any questions.
That was amazing. Okay. Any questions at all about break it up as much as you like? Just on items and what have you? Yeah, go ahead, Mike. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Goals 1 to 5 are pretty much business focused, probably relatively easily measured and reported on. Goal 6, though, is slightly less tangible. How do you intend to measure and report on Goal 6?
It's a very valid point, and is a challenge that we are trying to address. So, in our daily activities, you could argue we're adding social value, but this is about measuring the additional stuff over and above welfare provision and funding of local services. What we're doing in terms of year 2 is where we have a baseline of our Donate a Day scheme. We're actively promoting that within our staff base, and we've got some ideas around how we can really flex that and use that this year in all 3 districts. So we'll be measuring ourselves and benchmarking effectively against our charity days. We're then also this year planning on reintroducing certain outreach sessions, to be decided on content, but largely around provision of welfare. We need to work with the councils to make sure we're not overlapping the things that the economic development team is already doing, and that we're actually genuinely making a difference and it's money well spent. That's where we're currently, within the proposed plan, that's where we're currently benchmarking ourselves across those 2 areas. But completely take on board, it's very difficult to measure.
Yeah, it's helpful. I think all of us as councils would open the door and to the people that are doing the outreach stuff, our grants teams and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, please do. I'm sure we'd welcome that, and yeah, come around and do the visits and whatever. That'd be amazing. So there's something, and maybe there's something more longer term that sits there more comfortably with yourselves as a company that might be helpful too. Anything else? Yeah, go ahead, Mike, please. Yeah.
Thank you, Alan. Thanks, Mark, for the presentation. I think a lot of what your company does, I think if an outsider looked at it and looked at the advances in technology that we're seeing at the moment, would be saying AI is going to take over and do a lot of that in the future. I wonder if you just comment on how you are either using AI. Is it a threat, an opportunity? How does it build into the business plan effectively?
Certainly. So, as your company, and we have to move within the spheres of what all 3 councils are comfortable with. So, in terms of our timing, we've just had our AI policy signed off by all 3 councils. So, up to this point, we haven't yet deployed. Overall, AI is a disruptor, but primarily an opportunity for us. And I know the councils are running their own pilots and how it can be used. We're going to be doing the same thing. But if I take a step back, the technology advancement is so rapid. We're not looking at it as we're looking at it to complement our business activities, not necessarily replace a lot of our business activities. We're restricted by what processing can be automated by law to some degree, but there are certainly opportunities within, for example, the customer services element of looking at how AI can assist within the contact centre environment to take some of the more simple calls and redirections that we deal with, to release that capacity to answer the real value-added calls where they're quite complex emotional subjects that AI would probably struggle to reach and add that value to. So it's around releasing capacity from lower value elements that we currently do to actually make sure that we can make the difference. And for example, in the customer services arena, on my radar is like switchboard calls. So switchboard calls are in the main, very simple or more simple calls to deal with, also high volume. So whilst they're high volume and quick, we have 2 FTE that deal with switchboard calls across the across the 3 councils. Actually, if we can reduce that and redirect that resource to housing calls or benefit calls or council tax calls, that's a much more effective use of that resource. Within the benefits and debt collection arena, we're starting to explore opportunities around how we can automate and use AI to interact with the customers. Again, it sort of crosses into that customer services arena, but there are suppliers out there that will use AI voice agents in forms of debt recovery that we can start to look at as well.
Can I just come back then? So I know it's such a fast changing world, and you can't predict where we're going to be in 12 months' time. But would it be fair to say that your aim is to use AI to enhance the service that you provide to the customers within the existing budgets that you've got? Because AI is not cheap either. So I assume that we probably will be, if you are looking to effectively increase additional software costs, there would in time be a reduction in employees in order to go with that, because that's just the nature of where things are going.
Yeah, that's correct. So in terms of the investment cost, so currently I would not anticipate coming to the councils to request for investment, because all the time that we're returning a surplus, if we need internal investment to move the business forward, we would seek approval of the board to use that surplus to fund that investment cycle, which would mean that we would return a reduced surplus to the councils while we develop the business. I mentioned in year 2 about our strategic people planning. The AI is clearly going to impact that, and trying to future focus our organisation to try and predict where our resources and skill sets will be needed in the future, and how we develop our people now to still meet those anticipated aims. The challenge, as you said, is the AI environment is exponentially changing, and so trying to predict where we might be in 6 months, let alone 3 or 4 years, is a challenge. But yes, I agree with everything you said.
Yeah, it sort of makes sense, doesn't it, to do that and use the money that, to back invest it, isn't it, really, and get us to a better place. Just talk us through a little bit about, obviously we all had a hit with KCC, loss of money for recovering, bad payment, bad debt. Talk us through where you're sort of working that through in your plans, just so we're all sort of really clear. Yeah.
So effectively, the reduction in council tax support fund of KCC directly impacts our staffing resource, primarily in council tax, but also customer services. Where we are with that as part of the wider strategic piece, I suppose, is all the councils are looking, or have looked at, their council tax support schemes to make it more generous, because KCC were effectively paying the councils to chase smaller value debts, which are disproportionately expensive to recover. I think there's 2 of the 3 councils who have now agreed the scheme. One's due to go imminently. Were that to be deployed across all 3 councils, and where it's a more generous scheme, we will not be sending out thousands of reminders, summonses. There's a cash as yet unknown, but there will be a cashable reduction in expenditure on print and mail. So we spend £500,000 on print and mail. Half of our stuff already goes electronically. So if I can reduce the amount of letters going out seeking to recover debts that don't exist anymore, that will be a reduction in expenditure and an increased surplus back available to the councils, and is better for the public at large as well. In terms of that scheme, then logic would say to me, if we're not sending out as many reminders and as many summonses, then calls into the contact centre have reduced. So half our contact volume, electronic and human, is from revenues and benefits. So if we're chasing fewer debts, the volume of calls will reduce, and we can redirect that resource to chasing the more significant debts that we need to chase. As if mate probably haven't explained that very well, but
No, I think it's all about, you know, the sort of 100% you know, reduction for the very sort of most poorest families and stuff like that. Whereas get themselves in a right old pickle, and that's a typical example, isn't it? And that's some of the things that you're talking about will make that difference to the call. So, which I think we've certainly done that. I think it's sort of, as you say, it's gonna, we'll see how that goes. It would be interesting to get some feedback on that, I think, in a year's time, and see what you know, it's going to become apparent, isn't it? I guess after a few months, whether this is making a difference. How much money do you think? You know, have you got enough money to chase the bigger debts down? You know, that's, I guess that would be a worry to us. Are you resourced up for that? I mean, obviously a little bit surplus now at the moment. Are you resourced enough to get down to what you might think is a reasonable, recoverable amount of money, and with a degree of compassion in it as well? So yeah.
the simple answer is yes, I think that is the case. So where we're using our vacancy abatement now to try and return a surplus based on the KCC reductions, we're doing that with where the workloads haven't changed. As the workloads change, that task of collecting ethically and sensitively will carry on. Just to almost reinforce that element, the exact numbers I haven't got to hand, but in terms of the hundreds of thousands of customer transactions that we deal with on an annual basis, I think our annual escalated inquiries are around 170, of which about 30 have been upheld against that backdrop. So it's very, escalated inquiry isn't always a complaint, but it's what I zero in on, and where we learn from any changes that we need to make. So that's around 30 in a year, which is incredibly low when in comparison with the number of transactions and interactions that we have. Customer services is running at above 98% customer satisfaction at all 3 sites. So if we were not performing sensitively to our customers, that would be reflected in either one of those statistics.
That's handy. I think it's important that, you know, we don't lose sight of that, and, you know, it has to be, we have to hit the KCC have given us the hit to deal with, and we deal with it the very best way we can without making those compromises that not you, but us want to make, isn't it, really? So that's really good. Is there anyone else at all? Mike, come back again. Yeah, that's Mike Nee, by the way, and Mike sold the other one, so just for the tape. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Just coming back to alignment or misalignment of objectives. Objectives, your goals 1 to 5, are business focused, and using Mike's Sol's analogy, AI is going to make a big difference, or it's got the potential to make a difference. In terms of goal 6, what it will do is it will cut out entry-level jobs. So it's not a comment, it's not a question, it's just something to throw into the mix. Social capital, social value could be making entry-level jobs available to train somebody up to move on. So it's just a comment to leave hanging, but just to always keep in mind making sure all the objectives align, but more importantly, realise when they don't.
Yeah, absolutely take that on board. And I think that where we're pre-COVID, we had a really strong apprenticeship programme that dropped off during and after COVID. We're actually exploring how that can be resurrected now. So it isn't yet in place, but it's one of our intentions to resume that. And I believe at the Canterbury Advisory Committee, one of the councillors mentioned about working with the universities to provide opportunities for work experience for the graduates as well. So we're taking that on board. Yeah,
indeed. That's I think every single council in this room encourages apprenticeships and that level as well. So it's definitely right there, Mike. I think it's very valuable. Yeah. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, thanks. I suppose one of the concerns I've got is it's the revaluation with business rates and the potential implications. I mean, in our district, we've seen some big businesses, and it appears to be going through the roof, and the potential impact that could have on your organisation, therefore, and then on us at the end of the day if they then take it to an appeal and how long that takes, and etc. I don't know if you've got any views on that.
I think that we're effectively your company, but we operate as your department. So where there are challenges, I would like to think we have really good relationships and good interactions with each of the councils, so that where challenges are starting to emerge, they're quickly flagged and communicated, and then we've got a history of working together with whatever council is experiencing those challenges to try and address them together. So I think globally there is, or nationally there will be a challenge with the business, with the revow. Government may change their mind and may introduce different legislation or transitions that we will then have to deal with. I think for us, in terms of business rates, it's around making sure that we're communicating, stroke informing the public as appropriate, and within our available resource collectively, and equally identifying pockets of genuine pressure that we can try and help with whatever levers that we have, and equally identifying pockets of avoidance that we potentially need to work together to flag to reduce.
So that sounds to me as good point there, Kevin. And I mean, the business rates, again, it's going to be something like over this year coming, is going to be where we're really going to notice that, isn't it? We're not going to know until we really start paying the bills or not paying the bills. And that I think is really important. So I think there's a couple of things we'd love to catch up on later in the year. I think would be good to do that. And if we need to make, adjustments, then I guess we would have to support you to go forward on that, wouldn't we? To make sure we keep on top of it. Really good. Thanks for that. Any other points, anyone? Okay. Do we need to vote or just hand?
And second,
Yeah,
and
do-
then we can do it by general consent.
Okay, that's really good. Right, let's do the formal bit then. So this is, it's never, it's just a bit scary, the buttons to push or something,
No,
but no, it's fine. It's all right, it's okay. All right, so that's good. Right, so one second one down, isn't it? Yeah. So propose to recommend to the cabinets of the Canterbury City Council, Dover District Council and Thanet District Council that the 2026 and 27 business plan for Partnership 1 be approved. That's what we have to agree on in the room today, and then we'll obviously take it back to our cabinet. So are we all agreeing with the general assent? I think so.
Somebody's got a second it.
Somebody got to second it. Would you? Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, appreciate it. You're right. Actually, just when it's out of it. Yeah, good. So Kevin's seconding it. We've all agreed on general assent on that. I thank you for that today. Appreciate that. There's no urgent business.
Nope.
And no business that falls under the exemption provision of Government Act 1972. In that case, I close the meeting at 14:08. Thank you very much, all of you. Really appreciate it.